Hi everyone and welcome to another edition of the Lanzarote Information News and Weather. I'm Mike from Lanzarote Information and we have loads to get through today, including a really tragic story of a mass drowning in El Hierro and one about a disruptive Scottish man who had to be removed from a flight and attacked the Guardia Civil officers who were arresting him at the airport and has already been sentenced. Now remember to stay tuned until the end. We'll be covering three things. In fact, this week I've got four things for you could be doing if you're on the island next week, and somewhere around the middle of the bulletin I'll be giving you your useful Spanish word of the week that you can incorporate into your everyday conversations when you're here in Lanzarote. But first, let's talk about the weather, and it's been pretty good this week. We've had lots of warm days in the sort of high 20s. There's been plenty of blue sky around, big white fluffy clouds. We've had a couple of pretty windy days, but the forecast from the weather service, AEMET, says that we're going to have a hot weekend. So the temperatures will go north of 30 degrees on Saturday and Sunday this week. I never looked much further beyond the next couple of days, but my guess would be that we'll roll into the same sort of thing next week and it will feel very much like summer has started here. Okay, let's talk about that tragedy in El Hierro, and this involves a migrant boat that came over from the sub-Saharan coast of Africa with 168 people aboard. Now, many of these get into trouble out at sea. This one managed to make it all the way to the Canary island of El Hierro into the port of La Restinga and was pulled up alongside the dock, and everyone moved to one side of the boat to try and get ashore, and they managed to capsize it. It's absolutely tragic. At least 7 people have died, including 2 young girls and a baby. I've seen video of the whole event, which was harrowing. Fishermen on the side, just people who were there watching the event, dived in the water and pulled as many as they could out of the water, but as I say, 7 were lost. It's an ongoing human tragedy, this. The good news is that the number of boats or the number of people coming over versus last winter, this winter has been 20% down. So I think the propaganda campaign which is going on in that area of the Saharan coast is beginning to bear fruit, and that's really about telling people that, you know, the people who are taking your life savings in order to get you a boat to the Canary Islands are lying to you, because when you get here you don't immediately have access to all of the EU. You probably won't be able to get a job, and 8 out of 10 of you will simply be turned around and returned to the country from which you came. But that's a whole other story. This is a tragedy, and it's so sad when you consider that they'd actually made that very dangerous journey. They got to within sight of their destination and they lost 7, at least 3 of whom were very young ones. Our thoughts are with them. On a lighter note now, IKEA, or I think in some countries it's called IKEA, the Swedish furniture store, have opened a hotel in Las Palmas in Gran Canaria. And I've seen pictures of it. It looks very cool, very Swedish, as you would imagine. And apparently they are planning to open a second hotel, and all they'll say at the moment is somewhere in the Canaries. So I wonder if it's going to be in Lanzarote. I don't know, we'll see. This particular one looks quite a small one, has a kind of boutique-y, cool Scandinavian feel to it. Now, we had a really big jump in car registrations on the island in April. It was about 40% higher than in the same period last year. The majority of cars were registered in the municipality of San Bartolome, and that doesn't surprise me because car hire bookings in Lanzarote have gone mad in the first few months of this year, and I think we're already in a position where through the summer period and also over Christmas there just don't seem to be enough cars. I mean, I'm taking bookings for cars and then unable to supply the particular type of car that they're looking for over the Christmas period and through the summer over the last month or so. So that big increase in registrations, I think, is the hire companies increasing their fleets to cope with the demand. While we're talking about cars, taxi prices have increased in Arrecife this week. The increase in some cases for certain times of the day is up to 20%, but generally it's around a 10% increase in the fares. The reason it's been done, and I think this is a sound one, is that part of the deal for being allowed to increase their fares is that the taxi service or the Cabildo have insisted that the taxi service offer a full 24-hour service in Arrecife, which makes sense for the capital of the island, of course. So each of the taxi operators is likely to have to employ 2 further people, so they can do 3 8-hour shifts to cover the full 24 hours. So in return for the taxi fare, we should be getting a much better service. At this stage, I don't know if other municipalities are going to follow suit, but I'll keep you posted and let you know if that happens. For the rest of the island, the taxi fares are unchanged. Now let's do the useful Spanish word of the week for you. It's a very simple one. I always give the simple ones that you can use every day. And this word is cuánto. Cuánto, which means how much. And if it becomes cuántos, it means how many. And you can use it in so many different situations. If you want to know the price of something, if you don't want to go beyond cuánto, you can just point at it and say cuánto, and they will know what you mean. The correct way to ask that question would be cuánto cuesta, how much does it cost? You can also use it to refer to time, so cuánto tiempo, how much time. So if someone says to you, for example, you're waiting for a table at a restaurant, and they say, well, if you wait a little bit, we'll have one for you, you can say, cuánto tiempo más o menos, how much time, more or less, and they can give you an estimation of that. You could also use it for, how many years have you been here? Cuántos años, cuántos años. So cuánto is the word, and it's something, as I say, you can use every single day here on the island. Okay, back to the news now. You might remember that last week I told you about the fire at Open Mall in Arrecife, which is the island's largest shopping centre. That still hasn't completely reopened since the fire. The fire actually took place in an electrical distribution room at the centre, and most of the wiring for the centre was damaged by that, and it means that they haven't been able to get electricity to the vast majority of the shops, to the elevators and the escalators and all those kinds of things. There are 20 shops, I gather, that do have electricity and are open currently, but if you're looking for a sort of day out shopping in Arrecife, at the moment most of the centre is still closed. I gather it may reopen literally any day, and as soon as it does, obviously I will let you know. And now the story of the disruptive passenger who was arrested on a Ryanair flight from the UK. And, you know, I guess disruptive is a euphemism for drunk. But this just happens too often, and it's really, really frustrating. And I don't understand what gets into people's heads where they think it makes sense to get blind drunk and out of control before flying on their holiday and endangering all the other passengers. The story in this case is that the captain radioed ahead, asked for the passenger to be taken off the aircraft in Arrecife and dealt with. 3 Guardia Civil officers went aboard the aircraft, told the man he was under arrest, at which point he started punching and kicking them. He actually broke the hand of one of the coppers quite badly. I saw an x-ray of it in one of the local newspapers, and he was taken off the aircraft. They restrained him eventually, and his court case, actually, this all happened, by the way, last Friday. His court case happened the following Monday, so they processed it really, really fast. Again, I mean, I can't understand why people get so drunk. I also can't understand why anyone would be so stupid as to punch and kick armed officers when they're arresting you, but that's another story. I guess that's what drink can do for you or to you. The court case happened on Monday, as I said. He was given a 4-month suspended sentence, and he was fined a total of €10,000. Now, I don't know, I presume he was just put on an aircraft back out to his home country again, but it was a shocking story really, and something that should never happen. So hopefully his fairly quick and very harsh sentence will get the word out that you really need to behave yourselves before getting on a flight to the Canaries or anywhere else in the world. Now, it wasn't so long ago that I was reporting on one of these bulletins that the number of holiday homes registered for rental on the island had passed through the 7,000 barrier. Well, this week we had news that we've now gone past 10,000. So that's 12% of the entire housing stock of Lanzarote currently has a license for holiday letting, and it is the area where there's been the most massive increase in tourism over the last 10 years. We have pretty much the same number of hotel beds as we had 10 years ago, but this sector, you know, the letting of apartments and villas has just grown dramatically in that same period, and that was another huge chunk of growth. In some areas, for example in Playa Blanca, almost a third of the entire housing stock has a holiday letting license. Now, there is a new letting law coming soon, which is currently going through the Canarian Parliament, and one of the provisos of that is that it will ask each municipality over the next 5 years to reduce that percentage to 10% or less. So hopefully that will have a positive effect on it and get those numbers under control a little bit, because they are the thing, the sector of the market that seems to be feeding this incredible growth in tourism. And finally, on the news front, the Parador in Arrecife is going to be restored. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Paradores were a big group of hotels that were subsidized by the state under the Franco regime and that opened up all over Spain to provide good value holiday accommodation to Spaniards travelling within the country. And they are still going, and a lot of them are in the most beautiful buildings like old monasteries and old government buildings. When we travel on the mainland, Julie and I always seek to try and stay in a Parador. Well, did you know that Lanzarote always had one? It had one from the 1930s onwards. It's right on the seafront in Arrecife, and these days we call it the Old Paridor. But for many years it was the only hotel on the island, at least until the Farallones opened in 1967. The building's still there, but it hasn't been a hotel for many, many years. It's been owned by the Cabildo since we've lived here, and it's been used as kind of an office block. So I remember visiting the tourism department there for many years, and I don't know what's currently sitting in there, but as I say, it's used for various things. Well, the good news now is that it's going to undergo a complete restoration. It won't be opening as a hotel or a Parador again, unfortunately, because it's too close to the coast in order to allow a hotel under current regulations here. But what it will become is a kind of monument to the children of Lanzarote. So, I mean, for example, there will be a room dedicated to Blas Cabrera Felipe. There'll be another room dedicated to Cesar Manrique, and various other rooms dedicated to people from Lanzarote who have become famous over the years. So I'm looking forward to seeing that work taking place, the restoration of the building and those interesting rooms within it. I'll keep you posted on it. We'll try and get some pictures and video of the restoration work as it goes along, and we'll show you the rooms as soon as they're open. Now, I normally do at this stage 3 things you could be doing if you're on the island next week. Actually, there are loads of things going on over the next 7 days. Too many to even, give you a quick list of them. So if you are here and you are interested in seeing what else is available, have a look at the What's On section of our website. So go to lanzaroteinformation.co.uk, click the button that says What's On, then go to List View, and you'll see the list open up for you so that you can scroll through everything that's happening. Now, I normally do 3 of these. I'm going to do 4 today, only because there were 4 I thought were particularly interesting. And the first of them is the Fiestas San Antonio, which are taking place in Tias. And they are running from the 31st of May to the 15th of June. So San Antonio is the patron saint of Tias, and it is their kind of big event time. And there's loads going on. If you go onto that What's On section, you'll see there's stuff going on literally every day from today until the 14th of June. And there's all kinds of stuff. There are classes, children's activities, Zumba, music concerts, and so on and so forth. So keep an eye out for that one, because it's an interesting one. Now, next up is another multi-day event, and it's another one that takes place in Tias, and it's a Disney magic performance given by the Lanzarote Theatre School, and it takes place at the Teatro Municipal in Tias, and that one runs from the 2nd to the 3rd, the 2nd and 3rd of June. Let me just double check that. I thought it was on for 3 days. Nope, I apologise. It's the 2nd and 3rd of June. So Monday the 2nd at 6 p.m. and Tuesday the 3rd also at 6 p.m. And they are going to be doing performances from Disney shows and films, as you can imagine. So they include The Lion King, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid and High School Musical. So that sounds like a really nice event. Entry is free, so that's in Tias on Monday and Tuesday next week. Our next one, and this might surprise you, but we have an annual cattle agriculture and fishing fair which takes place at the agricultural centre, which is between Teguise and Monumento Campesino. So if you take the road out of Teguise going towards Monumento Campesino, you'll see the complejo on your left, a massive building, you can't miss it, and it's near the model aircraft airfield. Now this event is a great one. We've been before and I've always thoroughly enjoyed it, because it's a sort of exhibition of everything to do with fishing and farming and raising cattle on the island and goats and all that kind of stuff. And it runs from the 5th until the 8th of June. You can just rock up there and go in, and you'll be able to try locally grown food. You'll see how the farmers work, how the fishermen work, and all those kind of things. So that's a different and unusual thing that takes place here once a year. Now, I'm a bit of a petrol head and I love cars. And did you know that there is a sizable collection of classic cars on this island? And you may occasionally see one as you're out and about driving. You'll see a lovely old Mercedes go past, or I stumbled across a Model A Ford when I was filming last week. They are dotted around the island, but every now and then they all get their cars together and do a run, generally starting in Arrecife and finishing somewhere interesting on the island. And while they go for lunch, they leave their classic cars in a car park or on a football field, so that the rest of us islanders can go along and enjoy them and look at them and see what they're all about. Well, there's one of those taking place next Saturday the 7th. And the cars will be arriving in Los Valles, which is the small village between Teguise and Aria. And it's worth going there simply because it's a beautiful village. But also next Saturday, the classic cars will be there from 10 o'clock until about 3 o'clock. And they will all be parked on the village football field. I'm certainly going to try and go along to that. So if you're there too, maybe see you there. Well, that's it for the news and weather and all the other bits and pieces we do for this week. Don't forget, we produce a video every Tuesday for you, another one every Thursday, and this news bulletin every Saturday. So if you've enjoyed it, please give us a like. If you aren't already subscribed to our channel, please do so, and we'll notify you about each of those videos as they come out. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.